drop-offs. They can be pretty intimidating at times, especially when you're learning how to do them. Today's video, we're taking a look at all your common drop-off mistakes and how we're going to rectify them. First things first, let's take a look at bad drop-off technique. Here's some of my regular offenders. Just pulling up with your arms or doing a T-Rex, as I like to call it, off a drop is real bad technique. It means you haven't done the weight shift backwards. You're on the front of the bike and you're literally just pulling up with your forearms, trying to do a little front wheel lift. The problem with that is that you haven't got the weight shift backwards to, if the front end starts to drop, you can't get your weight back and pull up. You've literally got a limited amount of travel in your forearms to your shoulders, and if you run out of that, it means you're going to do a big nosedive. So standing up tall on a drop is definitely a classic mistake again. It means that you've gone into the middle of the bike, you've done the fork squish and you've pulled up on the handlebars, but you haven't transferred your weight backwards. What you've done is stood it up, so the weight is going up into the middle of the bike, meaning that your legs are straight, your arms are straight, your back's straight, and what it does is basically makes the bike really unstable and it gives a dead sailor, so you're basically stiff on the bike. When it comes into landing, you're going to land on top of the bike. It means your feet can float on the pedals as well. Sometimes it's quite easy to slip pedals if you're standing tall. It's a really classic mistake, and one you definitely should avoid. So when it comes to weight positioning, I always talk about getting your weight back, but it's vitally important that you don't go too far back and make contact with your back tyre. Usually this can happen at the worst timing. Literally, as you're about to go off the drop, you can lean back and you get your weight back and buzz your back tyre on the bum, and it causes bikes to stall, meaning you're probably just going to do a front flip off the drop. So just be aware of where that back tyre is all the time. Riders tackling drop-offs with the wrong speed, be it too fast or too slow, is one of the common mistakes that I see out on the trail a lot of times. If you're coming in too fast, it's quite easy because it's quite easy to get flustered by the size of the drop, thinking that if you add an extra few miles per hour to the drop, it's going to make things a lot better, when in fact it can make things a lot worse. It means you're probably going to over jump that landing. It means missing the sweet spot of that landing, which is going to be the most smoothest part to landing. If you inject more speed, you're going to sail past that sweet spot, had a lot more speed on the run out, meaning that you could lose control on the run out too, and vice versa. If you're coming in too slow, it means that you're not going to have enough pop and enough speed to go that distance, probably going to case the landing, meaning a loss of control and possibly a crash. It's all about judging the speed. When I come to a drop, I like to have 2 or 3 runs into it to make sure I've got my line dialed, I've got my speed dialed, and I'm more confident in my head that I can come into it, commit and send it. Thing is, if you come in 2 or 3 times to it and you're backing out thinking, no, I'm not going to do it, it's probably time to walk away and come back to it another day. Close your eyes, just pull up, just send it. It's all really bad advice, and if you've got bad technique, probably you're going to end up in a big heap on the floor. You might get lucky and pull the drop off, but it's really important to look ahead on the trail and scan those drops. Make sure you know whether you can roll down it or if you've got to use a drop-off technique. If you don't know, then you should be checking it out first. So this drop here on the trail, I know that I'm going to have to apply the drop-off technique. If I simply just get my weight back and drop off of it, rolling off of it, my chainring is going to hit, it's going to stop the bike dead, probably flip me straight over the handlebars. So it's really important to have a look ahead whether you need to apply that drop-off technique or if you can simply roll down it. When it comes to hitting the bigger drop-offs, it's quite natural to get flustered and start doubting your own capabilities and overthinking things, especially when the adrenaline kicks in. But it's all about managing that adrenaline. Visualize yourself doing it, staying relaxed and confident in your abilities. Where the drop actually is out on the trail can really mess with your head too. The drop behind me is really intimidating, but it's purely down to the location. We're on a big, wide hillside and the bank drops away quite steeply behind me. But if we go back to the drop I rode earlier, so I'm super comfortable on this drop. It's roughly the same height as my front wheel, and the gap and the distance out is roughly the wheelbase of my bike. Let's go take a look at that other drop and see how it compares. So don't let your mind trick you when it comes to these bigger drops. As you can see on this, it's a little bit bigger than my front wheel, and it's a little bit longer, but if I actually landed where my back wheel is, I'm still going to be fine. It'll case a little bit, but the actual drop itself isn't much bigger than the one we hit earlier on. When it comes to drop-offs, a lot of people focus on purely the drop itself, when in reality it comes in 3 parts. You've got the run up, the drop itself, and the run out. You really need to take a look at all those different aspects of the drop and link it all into one smooth package. So for instance, this on-off box behind me here at Windhill Bike Park, this is a feature that's designed, you jump up onto it, then you drop off. But if you make a mistake on the run-in, you could come in too slow and basically not even make the jump up onto the box. Or if you come in too fast, you could sail past this landing here on the drop and over jump the next feature. It's all about dialing in the speed and thinking about the run in and the run out, not purely the drop itself. Key things to think about when it comes to drops from today's video is commitment. Think about that drop from the get-go, commit to it. If you start backing out at the last second, bad things can happen. So it's all about managing speed, coming in at the right speed. Coming in too fast means you're going to over jump, whereas coming in too slow means you're going to case. Think about making that transition to the sweet spot on the landing. And lastly, it's about technique, not just using your forearms, not standing tall on the bike. It's about getting behind the bike, getting the weight back, picking the front wheel up and meeting that landing nice and sweet. But if you want to subscribe to EMBN, click the globe in the middle of the screen. If you want to stick around, check out how to do drop-offs, and lastly, how to progress your riding.